All right, good evening. It's almost 8:15 on oh gosh, what's today? Wednesday, the 28th of April. And unfortunately, I come to you with some weather news that we don't like to talk about, but it's definitely important to talk about. So we do have, it doesn't show up yet on this radar image, but we do have a tornado warning for this storm. This storm, for your reference, is northwest of Fort Worth. We have strong rotation on this particular storm. There we go. There's the radar update there. And so let's put this in motion real quick and figure out what the storm's going to do. So this storm actually started out near Comanche, way down southwest of Steveville, and has gradually made its way up this way. And so as you can see, you put this storm in motion. So it's northeast, east-northeast, something along those lines. And so it's at this rate, on its present course, it would go northwest of northeast Dallas County. But that's something we definitely want to watch because these storms tend to want to be right movers. And so what that could mean is that right now the storm wants to go this way. However, right movers tend to want to do this sometimes. So it's definitely something that we've got to keep an eye on. Nothing to be terribly alarmed about yet. But I would say if you are in obviously anywhere within the red polygon, you need to be in shelter. I'm going to borrow a phrase that the great James Spann talks about. Respect the polygon. And so that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to respect the polygon. So you have two polygons. Obviously, the more important one is the tornado warning. I don't see any reports that we've had any reports of it on the ground. Obviously watching that pretty closely, but I don't see that yet. But you can tell from the radar presentation it has a nice little hook there just northwest of downtown Fort Worth. So let's take a closer look at this storm and see what we got going on. So I'm going to put a dual pane on the radar and let's take this away here. So come on, Joe. There we go. Okay. Let's zoom in here. Okay, so just so you know, the brighter the color on this velocity scan, the stronger the winds. And so you see a tornado vortex signature right there. And so I would say, somewhere right in here, red's going toward the radar, green's going away from the radar. So you do have a circulation there. It doesn't look terribly strong, but it definitely a possibility. Now, the other thing that you would want to worry about with this particular storm is the hail size, and let's focus on that for a second. So this is a reflectivity mode, and that's going to show where most of the hail is. Now, if we change the frame on the right to the hydrometer scan, which shows us the type of intensity that the radar beam reflects back at, oh my, okay. So you see some yellow there. That is, well, the legend will call it giant hail, but that's a little bit of a potential misnomer in the sense that giant hail is a relative term. But nonetheless, when you see yellow like that, that means there's some big hailstones within that. So it looks like right now, if you're most of the Saxy audience is not in this neck of the woods, but if you're in that neck of the woods, and Angela, I saw you comment, you're definitely in this neck of the woods. Angela lives in the northeast Tarrant County, southern Denton County area. And so, definitely want to watch for that particular storm there. So right now, this storm is rather nasty. It kind of calmed down a little bit when it was west of Fort Worth, but it's definitely moved up the intensity scale, that's for sure. All right, so let's scan this out a little bit and get a little bit better perspective of what it means from the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And I'm going to take off the dual pane here for a second. Let's do this. All right. So again, like these supercell thunderstorms tend to do, it's the only game in town, if you will. And I've talked about this before. We don't want these supercell thunderstorms to be the only game in town because it's one of those catch-22s in the sense that if it's only game in town. So if you're not underneath it, hey, you're golden. But if you're underneath this thing, then it's not golden at all. So when we have more thunderstorms developing around each other, they have to fight for the energy, they have to fight for instability, and that's actually a good thing because it tends to rob each other of their updrafts, which of course the updrafts is what gets our hail. And so this is a bad situation in the sense that we don't have any other storms to share with. Hopefully that will change as time goes on, but right now that's not what we have. All right, so let's put this in motion, and I'm watching your comments, so I'm going to get to those in just a second. But anyway, so this is the last hour and a half, and so again, you see a general northeast motion, and you see hail contours, after it's gone by. So that's what the radar measures, estimates, I should say, once a storm passes a location. So just as you can tell, this storm has dropped some decent sized hail. And let's stop this here. And so this is a classic supercell. So let's zoom in here. So again, this is a reflectivity, and obviously when you see pink and you even see a little dark purple there, that's not what you want to see, especially if you're headed right, if you're in the path of that. So I would say if you know anybody that lives in Hazlitt, Trophy Club, and then when you get on a little bit further, Flower Mound, it might even be, I would say, some kind of corridor like that, Louisville eventually, maybe just north of Carrollton, if you know someone in that corridor. And if they're not paying attention, definitely give them a text, shoot them a call, something like that, or call them, shoot them a text, whatever you're supposed to say, because and not only just because of the hail, because of the potential tornado. So let's do this. Let's keep this full box here and go back to the hydrometer scan, because again, this is going to give us, tornadoes. The tornado potential is obviously important, so we want to watch that. But quite frankly, in the big scheme of things, the bigger threat is hail. So as you can see, again, you're seeing these yellow returns on this particular scan. That's very large hail. Now, the other thing I would say too is that you have to remember that the radar beam in this case is actually pretty close. It's down here south of downtown Fort Worth. So in actuality, it's probably pretty accurate because again, these radar beams go out at an angle above the Earth's surface, and so this is not literally at the ground. But since it's so close to the radar site, it's not too far off the ground, maybe 500, 1,000 feet at this particular location next to the radar. So it's pretty accurate as far as the hail going on. And so just as a reference, if you want to talk about the scale, so anything you see in green, it's just good old-fashioned rain. Anything you see in red is a hail-rain mixture, and that's typically the smaller type hail, the pea size, marble size, things like that. Now, when you get into this dark red, that's typically ping pong ball size. You're talking about 1.5 inch, 1 3/4. Golf ball size hail is 1 3/4. And then typically, not always, typically the yellow would indicate 2-inch diameter hail. But I haven't, I'm looking over here at some reports, and now just because we haven't seen anybody say it, I haven't seen any reports of big hail, but again, they might not have come in yet. Well, let's see. So actually, let's see what we got here. That's a pea-size report there. Now these are people that have the MPing app. If you don't have the MPing app, you can download that. I would have a word of caution that it's not necessarily totally accurate on some of those we get. Okay, but this is actually a local storm report that was relayed to the National Weather Service. So in Saginaw, 1 inch in diameter hail. So that's sounds pretty good. Not for them, of course. $50 size for this report and pea size. So nothing crazy big at the moment, but again, I don't like to see yellow when we look at hydrometers. So that's something that we just got to pay attention to. All right, so let's go back to the reflectivity mode and see what's going on here. Okay, so you do see, we like to call this the inflow notch right there. So you definitely have low level rotation to where the surface winds will come in like this. And then of course, if it's tight enough, which is not really terribly tight, that's where you get the rotation, and potentially that's where you would get a tornado right there. And as typical with supercell thunderstorms, you do get the hail core right north, usually north or northeast of the center of the rotation. And of course, this is a classic example of a supercell thunderstorm that's doing that. Yeah, kind of textbook if you want to know the truth. We don't we don't like textbook in that particular case. But anyway, okay. So now let's talk about what it means longer term as far as the immediate Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So again, I think you can see it, but if just in case you can't, Fort Worth, Dallas, Saxe, McKinney, Denton, and I just will say, people that know my number texted me. I will get back to you, I promise, as soon as I hop off the air. I am not ignoring you. But anyway, so it's there's your geographic reference points. Now again, let's put this in motion. And once it loads, because I'm sure I'm using a lot of bandwidth. And by the way, while we're waiting for it to load, most of y'all are watching this on Facebook, which I appreciate. However, I do stream it live to Twitter. If you want to follow me on Twitter, Facebook's not your thing. Twitter's just at Jeff Bickerstaff. I also have a YouTube channel. I stream it live to my YouTube channel. Again, just YouTube, search Jeff Bickerstaff. And a brand new addition is Twitch. AggieMan91 on Twitch. If you don't know what Twitch is, then Google it. You can find out. So interesting platform, to say the least. Okay, so with all that out of the way, you can see the motion there as far as, again, a general northeast motion. So right now, I would say that, and let's stop this. Okay, so again, as far as people in, I would say this: anywhere you see a red polygon, that's obviously take shelter. And if you're listening to me, awesome, but just be in your shelter. If you're in the yellow polygon, severe thunderstorm warning, not quite as dire, but I would say, again, pay close attention. Now, even though the box extends down here, I would say if you're anywhere in Tarrant County, if you're anywhere north of, or excuse me, if you're anywhere south of I-30, you really don't have anything to worry about, because it's not going to head your way, even though you see the polygon there. So I would probably suspect that you probably going to see another severe thunderstorm warning, if not tornado warning. Hopefully not tornado warning, but you're probably going to see something along this line here pretty soon, as far as I would guess the National Weather Service would issue a warning. As I said, at the very least, a severe thunderstorm warning, but it might be a tornado warning. It just depends on if it wants to ramp up again. All right, so actually, let's do this. All right, so this is a radar. Don't want to do that. This is a radar estimated as far as time. Okay, so if the radar takes into account the speed and the direction of the storm, it might be hard to read here, but it looks like if it kept on its current speed and tracked, it would reach north of Dallas County on the Denton-Collin County line, which is just near the Louisville Colony area, maybe West Plano, about a little after 9 o'clock. So that's about 35 minutes from now. So again, I would say if you're anywhere in, let's put this off. If you're anywhere in southeastern Denton County, really anywhere south of US Highway 380. So that's McKinney, Fairview, Allen, Plano, Frisco, things like that. If you're anywhere there, not saying this storm is going to be as nasty as it is right now, but again, it's right now. It's looking like it could be. So just something that you want to just nothing to be panicked about or anything like that, but just something you definitely want to keep an eye on. All right, so let's do this. Let's go back to this storm here. I guess let's blow it up here a little bit. Okay, so you don't see quite as big an inflow notch, which is good, but you do still see quite a bit of hail reflectivity on this mode. So let's go to the hydrometer classification mode again. Well, okay, so in a way, that's good. The yellow has kind of relaxed a little bit, shrunk a little bit, so that's good. Now, remember, the green is just good old-fashioned rain, and the red is kind of a rain-hail mix, so that typically means that maybe pea-size hail, marble-size hail, so that's good. So let's put this in motion and see what we got here as far as evolution of the hail. And again, like I said, you've seen a lot of hail, a lot of red. You've seen a lot of hail historically with this storm, and of course, you see the hail contours on the radar. So, in the big scheme of things, you haven't seen a big swath of yellow, if you will. So that's good. But definitely, I would say if I had to guess, when everything's all said and done, you'll see a lot of smaller hail reports: PE, marble, quarter, $half, stuff like that. All right, so with that, let me get back to the reflectivity mode here. See what we got. Okay, well, again, looks like it's trying to ramp up, cycle up, as we like to say. But it's kind of coming and going, so it's just something to keep an eye on. I imagine the National Weather Service will keep that warning going for at least a little bit longer because it's still kind of cycling up and down. All right, so let's scan out here let's take a little bit bigger picture before I sign off for the moment. Oh my, just looking out there at Dartmoor, my goodness, that's quite the hailstorm out there. Okay, so as a matter of fact, that'll kind of lead us into what we can expect in the bigger picture of things. So let me put this in motion. So as we've talked about, and I've tried to update every time, today, I should say, earlier today, is that we've had this chance for severe thunderstorms, and unfortunately, it's kind of coming true. Now tonight, I don't think everybody's going to see the worst of the worst, like I always like to say, but some of you will. And so, like if you're in if you're in Northwest Tarrant County right now, you're definitely seeing the worst of the worst. So it's something, but in general, the motion of these storms are going to be east northeast, and as you see way out here. My drawing tool work. There you go. When you see that's going to be kind of more what we'll see during the overnight hours. Not necessarily that intense, but it's just one of those things that it's just going to be a stormy night. There's really no other way around it, and hopefully it won't be too bad as nightfall happens. But it's just going to be one of those evenings, that's for sure. All right, so let me stop this. All right, so let me go. Let's see. Let's zoom in one more time. Let's check on what we got going here. Okay, let's see if my computer will work. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so let's zoom in here a little bit more. All right, so you still see pretty good, decent hail core. Let's go to the let's do the side by side here. Do the hydrometer. Still got a little bit of yellow there, not a whole lot, but still certainly something worth watching. Okay, so one last thing is, again, I would emphasize, even though there's no warnings out, if you live, I would say, well, that's not going to work. Let's try this. There we go. Okay, so if you live, I promise I'll get this to work. So if you live anywhere in this area, McKinney, Frisco, Plano, Louisville, Hebron, Trophy Club, things like that, be on the lookout for the storm within the next 30 to 45 minutes. And if you live anywhere along the Denton-Tarrant County line, Trophy Club, Flower Mound, things like that, definitely watch the storm because there's some rotation in that. And just if you're in the red polygon, take shelter, and we will make sure that we keep you updated the best we can. All right, so I got a lot of comments, so just want to run through these real quick to make sure I didn't miss anything. Angela, you can see the rotation. Bernard, thanks for checking in, appreciate that. Christy, your son's in Hearst. Oh, okay, well, let's see where he probably needs to be in shelter, I would say, just in case. Thank you, Stacy, for the comment. Thank you, Ms. Shea, for your comments. Kaylee, good time to be out of town. Yeah, yes, it is. And thank you, Misty, for your prayers. Appreciate that. And Patty, thank you for yours. Barbara, thank you. Hope if I miss you, I apologize. So Angela, stop saying it's Trophy Club. Okay, well, I don't have to say it, but it doesn't make it any different. So anyway, all right, so I'm going to leave you for now. Unfortunately, I think I will be back That's just the way it is tonight. And let me say this: I'm not going to come back for every little thing, so don't get me wrong. So I'm going to try to keep it to something that's rather urgent in nature, because I have a feeling that most of it will be the quote unquote garden variety stuff. But it's just something that, it's just going to be a stormy night. There's really no other way around it. So with that, I appreciate everyone watching. Again, in the future, if you want to watch me, obviously, if you're watching me on Facebook, you know where to find me. Like I said, I'm on Twitter as well, Jeff Bickerstaff. I'm on YouTube, Jeff Bickerstaff. Really hard. But I'm also on Twitch, and that is AggieMan91, if you want to follow me there. So, as always, I'm watching Weather so you don't have to. And sadly, I'll be watching it a lot tonight. Hopefully, we'll all get to the point where we can go to bed and get some sleep, and then we'll see what the overnight hours bring. But be careful, be safe, and again, if you are in Southeast Denton County, and yes, Angela, I'm going to say Trophy Club, Louisville, West Plano, Frisco, Allen, you got, you talk about 30 minutes, but again, just watch this closely. So, and real quick, let's see, I caught a couple of comments here. Joey, how about Little M? It's just something that you're kind of close there, so just watch it. I think you may be north of the worst of the stuff, but just watch it. And Vince, what's our hail chance of Saxy? Well, sadly, way higher than I want it to be. That does not mean it's going to hail specifically, but it's just the chances are higher than we want it to be, as the storm indicates in the North Tarrant County. So, as I said, as always, I'm watching Weather so you don't have to. I will be back as needed. Have a good evening, everyone. The best you can.